So we all know about Microsoft's backwards compatibility program, the Xbox One. Back in E3 2015, I believe. I believe it was 2015. They first announced the feature, and it was one of the highlights of E3. So many people were excited about the prospect of being able to play your 360 games on the Xbox One, and it turned out to be one of Microsoft's greatest successes this generation, besides Xbox Game Pass, which is regarded by many people within the industry as the future of gaming instead of PlayStation Now, which is a streaming service. Xbox Game Pass allows you to download the games, which is better and more efficient because, like I said, video game streaming, the technology is just not there yet. And I don't know if it ever will be because, like I've been saying recently a lot, especially with the video about why consoles will never die, people do not even have capabilities of downloading their games regularly. Never mind being able to play their games online and streaming their games online. So there are a lot of people who still can't even do Xbox Game Pass, never mind PlayStation Now. So Xbox Game Pass is more likely to be the future than PS Now, but how much of an impact it will have on the industry is still questionable. But what's not questionable is that Xbox Game Pass has been a huge success for Microsoft, and the backwards compatibility program has also been a huge success. And we haven't gotten that many successes from Microsoft this generation. You know, the Xbox One hasn't been doing so well in terms of sales. I mean, it's just enough to get by. It's not like Wii U colossal failure or anything like that. But it's, nothing, very minuscule compared to the Xbox 360 at least. But going back to backwards compatibility, Microsoft announced at last year's E3 that they were expanding the backwards compatibility program to include original Xbox games. Now that excited a lot of people as well because the original Xbox had a lot of classic games that are really hard to get by these days. And one great thing about the Xbox One backwards compatibility program is that besides being able to use your disc to play the game, I mean, you can't do it natively, you have to download it, but one good aspect of that is that it also comes with a digital download option on the Xbox Digital Store. So that's one good thing about the backwards compatibility program, because a lot of people who are like physical enthusiasts don't like that you can't natively read the disc. It recognizes the disc and it recognizes what game it is, but it can't actually natively run the game through like a hardware emulator. It's a software emulator. But since it's not a hardware emulator, it makes these older games, especially the original Xbox, some of these games are pushing 20 years old. So finding a physical copy of them are much, much, much harder. So being able to buy the game digitally is a great thing. And one thing I will say about the backwards compatibility program so far, it's been great. I've been probably spending more time playing backwards compatible games than like new Xbox One titles, and a lot of people might think like, oh, that's not good, because that means that Xbox's library is pretty weak. And yes, it is, but it kind of compensates for that a little bit, being able to play games that I have played in the past and I get to relive, but also games I've never gotten the chance to play before, and perform a little bit better frame rate wise, and run faster and less loading time. And that's a big plus. And Microsoft recently announced that even more original Xbox games are coming to Xbox One via backwards compatibility, because they, I think earlier this year or late last year is when they first started rolling the original Xbox games through, and there were only a few of them, nothing really significant. Maybe you had like 10 or 15 of them. But now that catalog has expanded by a lot, and a lot of original Xbox games are going to be coming over to Xbox One via backwards compatibility this month. I think there's going to be at least 20 of them. I think even more. Like, they're going all in this month with original Xbox backwards compatibility. And there were two games specifically that I noticed that are coming to Xbox One that very much intrigued me. And that, of course, is Star Wars Battlefront 1 and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, if you've been a long-time viewer of my channel, you would know how highly I think of both these games. As a matter of fact, I kind of hold an unpopular opinion. I guess it's unpopular, because most people view Battlefront 2 as the best Star Wars game. I view Battlefront 1 as the best one. Now, a lot of people are like, how could you say that? Because Battlefront 2 had space combat, you had space battles, you had so many more features in Battlefront 2 than in Battlefront 1. It was like one of the best sequels ever. How could you say that Battlefront 1 was better? Well, here's the thing with that. I think that Battlefront 1 was still a better game than 2 because the actual maps in 1 were miles better than the ones that they put in 2. Okay? So while 2 had the amazing space battles, which I liked, I still prefer boots on the ground combat more than being in, flying in space. So if you love being in space, then Battlefront 2, of course, is a much better game because you don't have space battles in 1. But in Battlefront 1, the actual ground maps in the game were miles better than the ones that they put in 2. It's just not comparable, in my opinion. But here's why those two games coming to backwards compatibility intrigued me very much, besides the fact that, we already have Battlefront 1 and 2 on the Xbox One, the new ones, the reboots. And it would be interesting to see how many people say, you know what, I'm fed up with the EA games. I'm going to go back to the OG ones. I'm very curious to see how many people will do that since it's coming Xbox One now. Another thing that I'm wondering, though I'm pretty sure I know the answer to it already, is, well, okay, a lot of these games now that are coming to Xbox One, that were from the original Xbox, had online capabilities to them, meaning you could play online multiplayer through Xbox Live. So I'm wondering, although I'm not really wondering so much as I'm fantasizing, I am fantasizing the prospect of being able to play online from the original Xbox through Xbox One backwards compatibility, similar to what they're doing with the Xbox One to 360, where the 360 games you're able to play online no problem because they allow you to connect to the 360 servers and you can play with 360 people, which is, why I think at this point, because people were always saying as soon as the Xbox One and PS4 came out, people were always saying, when are they shutting down the PS3 and 360 servers? PS3, I don't know, but 360, I know the answer to that is most likely never, because you have so many people now buying 360 games that shutting off the online for these games now makes no sense, and shutting down the entire system's online capabilities makes no sense at this point because you can now play those games online on modern consoles, so it's not outdated or obsolete to the point that they feel the need or that it benefits them financially to shut it off. It wouldn't benefit them financially to shut it off because there's so many people playing 360 games on Xbox One. So if they decide, oh, we're shutting off 360 online, yeah, that's like the one feature that you guys have over Sony. They're not going to do that, obviously. But the original Xbox, the server shut down, I think it was 2010. I could be mistaken, but I think 2010 is when they decided to shut down the original Xbox servers. I could have been off by a year or two, but I think it was 2010. Okay, so that was 5 years after the original Xbox was obsolete. And the reason why it lasted so long is because so many people were still playing games like Halo 2, right? And I could talk about more games, but admittedly, I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to original Xbox online back in the day, because I was around during the 6th gen, but I never really experienced online gaming. I got the PS2, and I didn't really know how to hook the console up online. I never even knew you could do it, honestly, because I was 6 years old at the time, I didn't really know much about hooking consoles up online, and there wasn't YouTube back then, so it's not like I could go on the YouTube video and look it up. They didn't have any of that back then. They had a disc. I believe they had a disc that gave you a tutorial, but I don't know if I even bothered looking at it, looking into it. I just didn't care enough. I was happy enough with what I had. But from what I can gather, original Xbox Live was a big deal back in the day, and it was one of the big features that sold the original Xbox in the first place. That was the one thing they had over the GameCube and the PS2 was how intricate its online system was. But obviously the 360 overtook it, and I guess there were pretty few people playing on the original Xbox, so they decided to shut off the servers. Now here's the thing though. Now you're going to have potentially a lot more people playing these original games through backwards compatibility. And it makes me wonder, what if they decided we're going to make these games back online? We're going to turn on original Xbox online capabilities again. Now, that would be a little bit complex because it's been almost a decade since the servers were shut off, so turning them all back on would be not a minimal task, I assume. And plus, it would also require the companies that made the game to turn on their servers. and I'm sure not all of them would be willing to do it. Now, as far as Disney goes, I'm pretty sure they're well aware of how big the fan base was for the original Battlefront games. That's why they signed a deal with EA to reboot the series. But I'm sure they also know right now there's still people who prefer the old Battlefront games than what EA is offering. So I would assume that if Microsoft decided, hey, we're turning the online back for original Xbox games. If you want us to turn your servers back on, you can. If you don't, then you don't. I feel like if Microsoft did that, which I don't know if they will, they probably won't. But if original Xbox backwards compatibility like blows up like really huge to the point where everyone's playing OG Xbox games, it's something they probably would do. But the problem is the Xbox One's install base isn't huge as it is. But who knows? It might bring in a lot of retro gamers who play the original Xbox and is not really very accessible to them right now, or the original Xbox broke, or they just would rather prefer, they would rather play their older games on a modern console with presumably better frame rate, and it would be running a lot better, much smoother on the Xbox One than on the original Xbox, like it has with the 360. But I feel like if they did that, if Microsoft did do that, Disney would probably say, okay, we're going to turn our servers back on for the Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. I think they would because they probably see the money in it. But then again, if they do that, it would kind of make EA look bad, and it would turn a lot of players away from their newer games, so perhaps they wouldn't. And also, the original Xbox didn't have microtransactions and other stuff, but then again, Battlefront 2, the new one, doesn't have microtransactions anymore. So it's very it's very iffy, honestly. I'm not going to say I'm 50-50. I'm probably like 70-30 on them not doing it. But who knows? It's a very interesting thing to think about, though, isn't it?